Emails from Afar, a chef's culinary adventure around the world. By Mike Sanders.
Chapter 17, The White Rose and the Thief. 1-6, Day 52. We said our goodbyes to Booze this morning as he is bound for Saigon. We will definitely miss his humor and great wit. He's made the last few days here in Hue a whole lot better with his laughter and enthusiasm. With his guidance, we saw some of the off-the-beaten-track places, like the Hue Market. Definitely not your average tourist trap. Dave and Elaine have decided to join us in traveling to the historic town of Hoi An, about 2 hours south of Hue. The bus ride to Hoi An was its typical slow bus ride with dangerous curves, interspersed with vast and narrow mountain roads. The sweeping views of the coast, and the mostly empty bus, all made for a very pleasant ride. When we stopped for lunch, we got a little laugh. While getting off the bus, we were given, quite out of the blue, a box lunch consisting of a small baguette and an orange. The lunch break gave us enough time to take a short walk and stretch our legs. We were only 2 blocks from a beautiful white sand beach, so we headed in that direction. Before we got to the beach, we were surrounded by children, 15 or so, all trying to sell us something. Pineapples, mangoes, watches, little baggies of peanuts, even a kid selling neckties. One kid had a basket of foreign coins he was trying to sell. Sarah, being the money collector, stopped to take a look at what he had. Down at the bottom, she found a 1972 U.S. penny. She asked the kid how much for the penny. "For you," he said, "1 cent." When we got off the bus at Hoi An, it was a bit of a scene. We unloaded from the bus right in front of 2 different guest houses, both of which had people out front trying to shepherd the new tourists into their respective establishments. Somehow, Dave and Lane ended up in the opposite guest house that we did. We got to our room, threw our bags down, and went next door to meet up. The hotel had a small sidewalk cafe, so when we found Dave and Lane, they were eager to get a table and relax in the tropical ocean breeze over a proper meal and some beers. As we cracked our menus, our attention was caught by what was unfolding across the street. Next to a giant pile of old tires was a little old man who had an oil drum on top of 4 large cinder blocks. Placed 5 inches apart in a square configuration, the oil drum was put on the top over the middle, with the space underneath containing a raging fire. The drums licking halfway up the can. He would periodically drop in a chunk of tire into the drum, which would then splash some of the black liquid out. The whole thing would instantly erupt in a 50-foot column of thick, acrid black smoke and orange flame. Occasionally, the fire underneath would die down to a reasonable size. Seeing this as unacceptable, the old man would take out a long bamboo pole with a bleach bottle that had been fashioned into a scoop at the end, and then dip out some of the fluid rubber. With a vigorous splash, he'd throw it onto the fire, with the predictive explosive reaction. It made for an interesting view over dinner, to say the least. The menu had the usual fare of pho, with any kind of meat you can think of, a small baguette sandwich selection, and the standard Western fare, burgers, fries, pizza. Our waitress welcomed us to Vietnam and Hoi An and then gave us all a free beer. Wow, that was certainly nice of her. She asked if we understood the menu and if she could be of any help. Sarah found something unknown on the menu, so she asked her what it was. She told us that here in Hoi An, they have 2 local dishes that are famous throughout Vietnam, and even the rest of Southeast Asia. One is called Cao Lao, and the other the White Rose. One is a very simple dish that is open and naked for all to see, and the other is a complete and total mystery to all. Cao Lao is a fantastic mixture of things. The best way to describe it is like a bowl of pho with very little broth. A heavy ceramic bowl had been filled with thinly sliced roast pork, rice noodles, strips of fried wonton skins, cilantro, Thai basil, shredded green onion, chilies, mung bean sprouts, and on top just enough broth to wet it all down. I liked the dish because it was damn flavorful and it was very easy to eat. With pho, you have to fish around with your chopsticks for the noodles and such. The more you eat out of the bowl, the harder it is to get the noodles out. With Cao Lao, there is very little broth. That means no fishing around, just eating. The light oil and crunchy texture of the fried wonton brought a pleasant richness to the mouth. The green onions, basil, and cilantro needed some fat to balance them, and the wontons were perfect for that. The fat balanced the slightly bitterness of the greens, and the greens, in turn, cut through the oil and left the palate clean. The meat was cut razor thin. It had been rubbed with something anise-flavored, probably Chinese 5-spice powder, and then roasted. A very small amount of beef broth acted like a sauce, bringing moisture to the dish. Cao Lao is a fantastic dish. I can't wait to attempt it back home. I know I can because all the ingredients are there in front of you to see. Open, inviting, simple, and delicious. The White Rose, on the other hand, is a very well-guarded lady. When we ordered around, the waitress turned to a coworker and said something in Vietnamese, which made her bolt out the front door. Dave made a little joke about how she had to go to the market to get what she needed to make him. He wasn't far off. By the time we were halfway through our bowls of Cao Lao, the girl came back wearing a motorcycle helmet and holding a bamboo steamer, which she sat down in the middle of the table. She lifted the lid and, with a puff of steam, revealed 8 golf ball-sized pot stickers. They were all in the shape of a small flattened ball, with the seam of rice paper forming a ruffled ridge all the way around it. The steaming process turned it slightly translucent, allowing the pink color of the stuffing to show through. As we all took a bite, everyone looked at me to let them know what was in it. Another hazard of being a chef. Pork, shrimp, garlic, ginger. Yeah, that's about all I could tell. There was more in there, but I couldn't identify it. They were very savory, and each bite made you want to eat another, and another, and another. They were so good that we ordered 8 more. Again, the girl put the helmet on her head and headed out the front door, and before she could pull away, we had turned the order into 16 more. Having 15 minutes to kill, we had to know what the story was. What were they made of, and where was she going again? The waitress explained that the White Rose is made by only one family here in Vietnam, and they live here in Hoi An. Passed down from generation to generation, amazingly, the recipe hasn't changed in over 200 years. Anytime there's an order for a White Rose in Hoi An, someone has to go get it from the family house. The family makes them 6 days a week, 14 hours a day, year-round. Wow, now that's what I call dedication to a family business. The waitress also told us about how the family takes great pains to keep the recipe a secret, like sending random family members to random towns to buy a few of the needed ingredients. The knowledge is compartmentalized, meaning only a few of the inner circle know the whole recipe. She said that the family will even go as far as to come back in the middle of the night or in the day wearing disguises. Wow, now that is a secret recipe. Whatever they're doing, it's working, because the White Rose is some of the best food I have ever had the pleasure of tasting and is well worth the trip to Vietnam for. As we were going past the front desk after dinner, one of the desk girls asked if we were Americans. We said yes, to which she supplied she had some U.S. money that she would like to trade for Vietnamese dong. I mentioned to Sarah, seeing as how we were headed to Cambodia next, it might be a good idea to have a few American dollars in our pockets. She said that was a pretty good idea, as we had no idea what Cambodia would bring. We hear that ATMs are few and far between there. We told her that would be fine, just come by the room sometime. About 8:45 in the evening, fresh out of the shower and drying myself off in front of the TV, the doorknob began to turn. If Sarah hadn't locked it, the person would have just walked right in. I found a pair of shorts, and Sarah then slowly opened the door. It was the front desk girl holding up a little pink coin purse. She came right in, sat down on the bed, and dumped out the small bag without saying a word. A little over $5 in quarters, nickels, and dimes came spilling out onto the bed. A little disappointed, Sarah explained that though we could use some bills, we couldn't take the coins. We would have no way to exchange them or use them until we got home. Currency places don't exchange coins, and that's probably why she was trying to sell them to us. "Oh no, you can spend when you get home," she said. We tried to explain to her that we were backpacking our way around the world and that we had to carry everything with us. We didn't need to carry around $5 and change around the planet. The conversation went around and around for about 10 minutes, getting nowhere. Eventually, I told her that we were very sorry we couldn't help her, and it was time for us to go to bed. Once the change had been gathered back up into the purse, she set it on top of the TV. She said that she would leave it there, in case we changed our minds. Sarah told her that we wouldn't, and she may as well just take it now. With that, she just smiled and closed the door. 1-7, Day 53. In the 16th and 17th centuries, Hoi An was the international trading post for South Vietnam. Great numbers of foreign merchant ships came from near and far. Portuguese, Japanese, Dutch, Korean, Chinese, and Indian traders all established their own quarters here in Hoi An. Because of its international history, and a bit of good luck, Hoi An's Old Town is a still unique concentration of architectural designs. Living houses, assembly halls, communal houses, pagodas, shrines, temples, and a large wooden bridge and the wharf have all survived the centuries. It was a marvel to walk through the old town and its jumble of old cultures. Near evening, after a day of sightseeing, we found a cafe in the old wharf district. Both Sarah and I had a bowl of cow lao, and it was exactly the same dish that we had last night, which leads me to suspect the cow lao is a specific dish rather than a premise of a dish. Interesting. I also had some spring rolls. They were okay, nothing to scream about, but the peanut sauce, on the other hand, was a different story. It was so goddamn good, I could have drank it. It was so good that I asked the waitress what was in it. She was happy to tell me about it and used variations of it. Believe it or not, the peanut sauce made the whole meal. One 8, day 54. Ever have one of those days where everything goes wrong from the start? A day that at every turn gets worse and worse? Well, here's mine. I got up, got ready, went downstairs to use the internet. Once done, I came back upstairs, grabbed my laundry, then dropped it off at the front desk. By the time I got back to the room, I realized that I had left all of my money in my shorts, around 250,000 dong, which was really only about 20 bucks. I knew it. I left it in my shorts because I had just used some of it to pay for the emails that I'd sent at the internet cafe. I shot back downstairs to the front desk and told the front desk girl the deal, who looked very concerned. She told me to hold on a moment and disappeared through the side door. A few seconds later, she came back and said that they had just started doing the washing and no money had been found. I mentioned to her that it was in one of the side pockets that was easy to overlook and asked if I could just pop back there and grab it, to which she replied favorably. I went back and found my shorts, stuck my hand into the wet pocket, but all I found was a handful of suds. Mildly panicked, I went back to the room to make sure I hadn't left it there. I tried to calmly make a thorough check of all of our stuff, and as I was checking my bag, Sarah came out of the shower, and I told her what was up, and that I was 99% sure that the money had been in my shorts. She looked at me for a second and then came to the same conclusion I had. I was foolish enough to leave the money in my shorts and somebody took it. Bummer. After a light breakfast of some fresh fruit, next door we went back to get the guidebook and the map. Sarah got out her souvenir stuff and put the new 1,000 dong bill into her growing collection. As she got into her bag, she let out a little squeak. The zipper on her collection purse was undone. After a quick count, the only thing missing was the Australian money she'd gotten from a fellow traveler in Chiang Mai. We looked through all of our stuff to see if anything else was missing. Much to our surprise, nothing else was. On a whim, Sarah grabbed the pink coin purse off the top of the TV and dumped it out. It had about $2 left in it, all in dimes and nickels, no quarters whatsoever. So apparently, this hotel has a thief. In total, we lost about $25, so it wasn't a huge loss by any means. But more important to me, we lost our sense of security. Dave and Lane came over and hung out with us for a while. They were just as shocked about what happened and understood why we didn't want to leave the room. We will be going our separate ways in the morning, so it was just nice to sit and visit. We are headed south to Saigon, and they have decided to spend a little bit more time on the world-famous China Beach. They're the nicest people. Tons of fun and always entertaining. They have almost insisted that we visit them when we get to Europe. 1-9, day 55. We started our travel day by joining Dave and Elaine for a hearty goodbye breakfast of bacon, eggs, toast, and fruit. Bacon! Bacon! I haven't had bacon in forever, or at least since the States. Oh, how I love bacon! It was only 2 pieces, but damn, they were good. We're leaving for Saigon soon. Sorry, I refuse to call it Ho Chi Minh City. Throughout history, cities around the world have been named and renamed, but they always revert back to their original name sooner or later, so I guess I'm just going to stay ahead of the curve and call it Saigon. We have to travel north to the bus station in Da Nang, to catch the train south to Saigon. It felt wrong to go north to head south, but sometimes the best step forward is 2 steps backwards. We're getting a little tired of Vietnam. It's a beautiful country, the food is great, the culture unique, but most things here are in a sad state of disrepair. I would really like to come back in 10 years and see the progress. I'm also tired of people trying to sell us anything and everything. You name it, some kid is selling it. I even had a 5-year-old girl follow me into the men's room trying to sell me cheap trinkets draped around her arms, and she only left when I began to whip it out. No joke. It's reached the point where Sarah and I have resorted to speaking Spanish when we are approached. The Spanish throws them off balance just long enough for you to be able to slip away. We need some time away from crowds, I think. As we were checking out, the front desk girl said thank you and then said she hoped to see us again soon. That didn't sit well with me. Neither one of us wanted to make a scene, so we just let it go. Sarah gave the pink coin purse back to the front desk girl without saying a word. With that, we gathered up our stuff and went outside to wait for the taxi to the train station. The front desk girl, who had left us the pink purse, held it up in the air and shook it and said, "I need money." Now, I'm not sure if she meant, "Where are all my quarters? You need to pay me," or, "Please, please, buy my coins off me." Either way, the stick of dynamite that was Sarah's anger detonated. She did a 180 mid-stride and marched right up to the front desk and tore into them like a 40-pound British bulldog. She told them about the missing Aussie money, the missing change out of the change purse, and the money that had been taken from my shorts. She went on how she didn't appreciate being ripped off, and though we may be Americans, we are not rich, no matter how it may look to you. The front desk girl countered with something about the honesty of the staff, and how they would never do something like that. Perhaps we misplaced the items? Misplaced the items? This had the same effect as throwing melted rubber on a tire fire. Sarah came unfucking glued. She erupted in a furious ball of East Coast spite, full of venom and anger, without mercy, without pity. Amazingly, she kept the profane truisms going for 10 minutes. It was quite a scene, man. Ow! Fuck!